Good morning and welcome to Naturally Kim's Knitting. Sorry, I just realized that I was clear over to the side. Anyways, this is Naturally Kim's Knitting and this is the way I usually am. This is a podcast all about knitting, dyeing, spinning of yarn, any other yarny craftiness I could think of. Plus, starting today, a little bit of sewing. Yes, that's my puppy over there. That's my ginger snap. I'm sorry, my mind is scattered. Anyways, all of this little craftiness stuff is done from my home outside of Lima, Ohio, where I live with my hubby, Randy, and my puppy dog, Ginger Snap, and my kitty cat, Purdy, which I doubt if she will ever show up in the podcast. She's a little bit camera shy. Today is January 10th, and this is episode 97, yet to be named. It's kind of a dreary, icky, rainy day outside today, and the rain is a little bit scary because my husband has to drive 45 minutes to work and then turn around, drive back that same distance every day. And I do worry about ice and all that stuff. But that's neither here nor there. That has nothing to do with our podcast. I should also say, I guess my podcast is about my life as I think of things. I want to welcome all of you, and if you're still with me this long, you must like a little craziness, because that is the way I am. That I want to welcome everybody, whether this is your first time to see this and that you're wondering what in the world, or if you have been with me for a long time. I want to welcome each and every one of you. I love you. You guys are the reason I get on here and do this every week. I should tell you a little something. Every week I plan on podcasting, 9 o'clock in the morning or something. But I have to kind of psych myself out a little bit because, number one, I don't like having my picture taken. And number two, I don't like the sound of my voice when I record. So I sit there and I go, oh my goodness, we can do this because I'm talking to friends. So you are the reason I do this, because otherwise I wouldn't have met all the friends that I have met. So I just really love all you guys. We do have 2 new people to the group. One is J Ladybug 671 from Utah, and then we have somebody from Australia, handmadestudio, who is Wendy from Australia. Welcome to both of you guys. I hope that you find what you're looking for here. If you have any questions, you can put them either at the bottom of the show notes, or there is a thread on Ravelry where you can ask questions. Speaking of which, I still haven't decided where I'm going to put it. It may be clear at the end of this podcast. But somebody did ask to see how it is I spindle. And so I did a little demonstration, and I'll put it clear at the end of this podcast. That way, those of you who do not want to watch it, don't worry about it. But those of you who do, you'll know where it's at. Anyways, so we might as well get this show on the road, huh? Oh, yes, before I go any farther, anybody who's watched this for a couple episodes know I have grandchildren. And my little Tobias turns 2 years old before my next podcast comes out. So just in case he's watching this, I love you, Tobias. And see, I'm waving my hands just for you. And I love you and happy birthday. And we could talk real soon. Okay, now on to my knitting. I have got a surprise because something has been in hibernation for quite a while. And I decided this last weekend I would take it out and I would do a few squares. Molly's Temperature Afghan. Looky, I've done this square and this square and this square and this square. So I am very happy. There you can see the colors a little bit better. That little one is a forest green one, pea pod and merino. So I just decided, you know what, I need to do some knitting for myself. Well, actually, I've got two things for myself that I'm doing. Just because, number one, that's what our knit along is this month, is knitting for yourself. Even though that afghan is not for myself, it's not a pattern test. And sometimes I get a little bit overwhelmed when I'm doing a book full of patterns to test. So it's nice to take a breather and just do something that is not does not have a due date, is just fun to knit. And that's one of the things. Then the other, oh, I should let you know, that's actually made out of Knit Picks Swish DK. I love it. It is so soft and it works up so nicely. And the colors are so rich. So anyways, it's on size 4 needles and it's the memory blanket pattern. I will try to put, links will definitely be on Blogger and WordPress. I will try to remember to put all the links on Ravelry. You know, what I love watching other people's podcasts and seeing them actually go blank for a minute because it makes me not feel so bad. And things like Ravelry, where I'm on Ravelry once a day at least, usually a few times. There's too many nice patterns on there. Anyways, the other thing, which was my New Year's Day cast on, I feel like I need to start a project on New Year's Day. And if some of you would have seen pictures on Instagram of my snow dyeing yarn with Kool-Aid. Well, this is that yarn. And I didn't soak the yarn in citric acid or I would have had big areas of color. However, I love this. It's a white and it has all those little flecks. And every once in a while, like when this one came up yesterday, I went, oh, I love that fleck. That's such a nice, that was probably a black cherry. But oh my goodness, I'm loving this. It's so soft. It's going to, and I should let you know more about it. This is Inflorescence in the Sock Yarn Shawls, 15 Lacy Knitted Shawl Patterns. And like I said, this was my snow-dyed glittery yarn. And I'm using size 4, 3.5 millimeter needles. And oh, it is the boring part right now where you're just doing the stockinette stitch with just an increase here and there. But like I said earlier, sometimes when I'm doing pattern tests and I have lots of different patterns within something, it's kind of nice to have something that is just something I don't have to think about. By the time I get to the lacy part on that, I will have probably a couple more of Cece's patterns done. And of course that brings me to Cece. I cannot show you the things I'm knitting and I can't show you any of the parts of the things I'm knitting because now it would show the pattern. But Cece Almond from Geeky Girls Knits, I love pattern testing for her. Her patterns are so original. I just really love them. And I think her new book is coming out this spring, Tickled Pink. And the patterns are just wonderful. Now oh yeah, I do. I have a homespun scarf. I've just barely started it, which is kind of a lie because I've been trying to figure out which stitch pattern I like the best on this. And honestly, I kind of like this one. But I had to restart this 3 or 4 times because the other ones I didn't like. This is some of my homespun. It has merino in it. And it is so soft. And I like to give my homespun scarves, I like to give them to the soup kitchen. I'm trying to decide though because I do have friends that I would like to start knitting things for. But I have made myself a commitment that I will make socks and scarves for the soup kitchen this year. And hats for my chemo kids out in California. So I'm going to keep that promise. If I get 12 scarves done this year, then I will see about making things for my friends. So I've been talking about my scrap yarn sock. I finally decided it's hibernating because I don't have needles right now for another pair of socks. I'm working on 3 socks for Cece right now. I don't have needles. And but when I do, I will pick it up again. I just have to wait till I get one of the 3 pairs of socks done that I'm working on for her. So that's everything that's on my needles. Okay, so sorry, I have my phone actually up here where I don't have to keep looking down all the time, but now I have to go reach over here and scroll. I finished another chemo cap. Ignore the little strand. I'm going to put a pom-pom on there. I'm going to hopefully make it later today. But another hat for chemo kids, or caps for chemo kids. There we go. And this is an organization I sent them to out in California. I came across it when I went to visit Molly one time, and they had an article in their little advertising paper, and in it they were requesting caps. Well, I happened to be visiting, and I had just finished a dress for Genevieve, so I used the extra yarn I had, and I made some caps to take to the Lambtown Festival. Don't know why I'm scratching my head. I apologize. Anyways, so that was 3 years ago. And so since then, it's like, I like making them for out there because I don't get to see my daughter in person. It's going to be, I'll see her at my son's wedding in September, but then hopefully the following spring I'll get to go out there for a little bit. So it's going to be a little while till I get to travel out there. So these caps, in addition to helping kids, they help me feel a little closer to California. And this was some of my extra homespun yarn that I used to make my husband's sweater, his fisherman sweater. So I'm using it up as much as I can. I'm going to make 2 pom-poms and put those on hats, and then I have a feeling that ball will be done because it's getting pretty low. So I got that finished. Oh, I did finish one thing, but I gave it away. I did finish a scarf from my homespun, but I gave it away, and then I realized, oh, I didn't take a picture of it or anything. I apologize, but I did finish one. Okay, let's see. Things that I am happy about. I am so tickled because I said in the beginning that this is also going to be about some sewing. It has been a couple years since I've been able to sew with between my shoulders and my neck issues and all that, and my thumbs. Well, I bought this yarn when my daughter was this material when my daughter was expecting Tobias, because they use a sling when they carry their kids around. They don't use a stroller. And I thought, I'll make her one. Well, before I got it made or even cut out, she went out and purchased one. So I happen to love Tigger. The most wonderful thing about Tigger is Tiggers are wonderful things. The tops are made out of rubber, the bottoms are made out of spring. They're bouncy, 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 fun, 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 fun. The most wonderful thing about Tigger is I'm the only one. So, I'm making a little project bag. And this is either going to be for me or my granddaughter, because I did promise my granddaughter that one of my first ones I would send off to her. But it's going to be a project bag with Tigger on the outside and stars on the inside, because Tigger bounces so high that he could almost touch the stars. So that's my project. That's my first sewing project. I had to actually remember how to wind a bobbin, how to thread my bobbin, and all that stuff. And my machine needs oil too, but I can use it right now. It's just that it's a little rough sounding. So let's see. What else has been making me happy? Well, okay, I showed you my knit crate yarn last week. I haven't received the new one yet. I'm excited. I can't wait. But anybody who might be interested in knit crates, you can get a $10 coupon by using a code that I have on my show notes. And like my yarn that I get is Knitology. I only get the yarn. I don't need any more patterns really right now. Eventually, maybe I'll invest in another box or something from them. But for right now, I'm fine with the yarn. And, but they have, several different boxes. And you can use this code on any of them. So it's worth checking out. They have wonderful yarn. I had tried a box earlier, and oh my goodness, they not only send you yarn, they send you discount codes, which more makes up for what they have there. Oh, I tell you some wonderful things. Anyway, so if you're interested in that, under my I am so happy is the code. Then also under the crafting book review, there's another code. So there's twice. It's twice in my show notes. The Knit Picks is still having their 20% off their Cotlin yarn sale. They have a brand new line of yarn. It's a bulky weight yarn, and I want to say it's a cotton too. But it's pretty beautiful colors, but I'm not getting it. I'm getting my Cotlin, and that's all I need to get right now. Oh, and then I have something to show you. This made me so happy because, as you know, I have a Genevieve yarn in my shop. And I will probably always have a Genevieve yarn in my shop. Well, my grandson loves blue. So I did a dip dyeing with blue. I'm trying to figure out the best, no, that one doesn't work. The best angle to show it. So I did a dip dyeing. And dip dyeing, you start off by dipping one end of your yarn, your skein of yarn, into, or not your skein, your hank of yarn or whatever, into the water, hold it there for a little bit, then you drop it down a little bit more, so this part will always stay darker. And you keep going, and this is the lightest end. I do have some white, but that's part of the fun of hand dyeing. Now, this will be in my store, but I wouldn't expect it until probably next week. I need to reskein this and label it, and then it will be in my store. But I've discovered I can't use a nitty knotty right now because it hurts my upper back, and I'm not going through that. So I found a skein winder that wasn't very expensive, and it's coming. And so then I can rewind my skeins after I dye them so that you can see all the colors and everything. See, even just doing that, like that, you can see some of the colors, but when you reskein it, it really brings them all out because they're close together. It is beautiful, and it is a soft yarn. It's a merino nylon, and it's fingering weight. It's gorgeous. But that's called Tobias, and it will be in my Etsy store. I'm not going to promise that it'll be in by this weekend. Possibly the beginning of next week. I'm sorry, I can't be more exact about that. If you follow me on Instagram, when I post it into Etsy, I will put a photo of it in Instagram so that you can see. Anyways, let's see. So that will be in NapiersKnits soon. And then I love when I go to the mailbox and I get a surprise. And I kind of knew this was coming, but not really. Betsy put a hat pattern on her last month on her Knitting for Others pictures, and I really liked that. She told me it was somebody else's pattern, but she has made it her own over time, so she would mail it to me. And then in addition to that, she made me this beautiful doily. Isn't that beautiful? See, I can't crochet anymore. So I love it that she could do this, and I've got just the place I'm going to put it. I've been resisting putting it there because I wanted to show all you guys. Betsy, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then she sent another double point needle holder. So this is going to be added to the prizes next month. If we have over 10 entries in our craft along, this will be another prize. The first prize is a skein of my yarn, and I showed that to you last week. I can't reach it this week. While I'm talking about it, we might as well go ahead and talk about the knit along. Usually I do my book review here, but since we've already started talking about the knit along, let's talk about it. So what we're doing is on Ravelry, we're doing crafting for self, because last 2 months was crafting for others. My light is really bad today. I'm sorry about this. I got got the sun coming this way. That was not good thinking. Anyways, crafting for yourself. The project could not be started before January 1st. Anything that you make, maybe poly dipped in somebody else's. So if somebody's having like a shawl knit along, go ahead. As long as it's for yourself, you can poly dip as long as it follows everybody's rules. I told you the prize. I wish I could pause this without stopping it. It's a skein of my my yarn that I've dyed. Oh, it's a beautiful color. I wish I could. I'll have to show it to you next week. I'm sorry. I scanned the room before I got on here to make sure I had everything I needed for the podcast, and I forgot that. So I'm sorry. Anyways, it will be one skein of NapiersKnits hand-dyed yarn. If I have more than 10 people, I will go ahead and give that double pointed needle keeper in it. If I would happen to have more than 20, then it will be either a pattern, or unless somebody else donates something, then. So anyways, I'm excited. Let's see. I should continue on with this. I get distracted. I'm so sorry. The winners will be chosen using the random number generator. Isn't that a wonderful thing? I just love that thing. Because that way I don't have to judge, because everybody's projects are so beautiful, so I don't have to pick out the best. I could just do the random number generator. Anyways, when you complete an item under the knitting or crafting for other, this might be knitting for others, and my Ravelry thread, just start a post using a photo of your finished object, a pattern name if there is one. Yeah. If you do that, that'd be wonderful. Now, in order to win, you do have to be a member of the Naturally Kim's Knitting podcast group. I'm sorry, but that way I make sure that it's my friends that I'm podcasting to that get it. And yeah, now the whole thread will be locked on the morning of March 1st as soon as I wake up, and I don't know what the Wednesday is following that, but that's what I'll probably announce, or that's what I will announce the winners. Unless the 1st is a Wednesday, then I will announce it on the 1st. I don't know calendars, not off the top of my head. Okay, now for any giveaways, craft alongs, any kind of competitions or anything I do, once I announce the winners on the podcast, the winners have 2 weeks to notify me on Ravelry. You PM me. I just realized I've got that chair in the picture. So sorry. Anyways, you need to PM me, because if it's a physical item, I need to have an address to mail it to. And those of you who have won before do realize that I don't keep addresses usually, because I don't want to send out junk stuff to people or things that people don't want. So anyways, if you do not notify me within 2 weeks, then that prize will go back into the prize bin and it will be used another time. Sorry. And if there's anybody out there that would like to donate prizes like Betsy did, I just think that's gorgeous. Look at the little birdies on the front, and look at that on the inside. She has little snaps on it, which I like too. Isn't that gorgeous? She does such a good job. So anybody who would like to donate a prize, you can also PM me on Ravelry, and I will let you know where you can send it to, unless it's you're gifting a pattern on Ravelry. Then I will give you the person's name, and you can just send it right to them. Okay, I think that was it for that. Okay, so let's go back to where I'm supposed to be. Book review. I have had this book for a while, and mainly because I love the cover and I love the thing that's on the cover. This is Once Upon a Knit. It's 28 grim and glorious fairy tale projects, and it is available on Amazon and on Barnes & Noble for those of you who are interested. It is available on both of those, and I do have a link. I am an affiliate with KnitPicks, Amazon, and Barnes & Noble. So if you're interested in the book, after I show you some of the patterns, you could go right on there and I get a couple pennies in return. Anyways, so in case you didn't figure out, all these patterns are based on things from Grimm's fairy tales. And the very first pattern is the Ruby Red Riding Hood. And I love this pattern. I love the cape on it. I love the hood on it. It's supposed to be an easy pattern. I could see possibly getting bored of stockinette stitch with it for a while. But it does come in children and adult sizes, and it uses worsted weight yarn. How about that? So it might work up kind of fast. There is... I'm trying to figure out the best angle. There's another picture of it. I need to remember where it is. I film every week. This is not a good place. My doggy was acting a little put out, so I thought I'd sit over here where she could see what I'm doing. Anyway, so next, to go along with Red Riding's hood, comes Little Red's basket. That's kind of cool, too. I realize going from that angle is not good. And this is an intermediate skill. Of course, it's only one size. And it uses bulky weight yarn. That would work up fast. The only thing I don't like is I don't like sewing linings inside of knitting. It kind of intimidates me. Then I kind of like this too. Oh, wait. Am I skipping something? Nope. Huntsman's glove and scarf. Look at that. And that is supposed to be easy. The gloves are intermediate. The scarf is easy. There's one size on the scarf, and there's a woman's size or a men's size on the gloves. And let's see, the scarf uses worsted weight yarn. Oh, well, they both do. They both use worsted weight yarn. Let me see if the gloves are... There. You can see it, I guess. So that's that one. Then we have Entwined Forest Throw. It would be a while before I could get to this, because I'm already working on an afghan. But I love the log cabin center, and then I love the pattern on the edge. That's an intermediate, probably because of the edge pattern. Well, it could be, I don't know. Anyways, it's done in worsted weight yarn, of course, one size. And you do need to know cables. I didn't tell you what you need to know on the other one, sorry. They do tell you if there's a special skill you need to know. They have stitch patterns on the Huntsman. And then the basket. You need to know the knitted cast on and the Kitchener stitch. Another good reason I wouldn't do the basket. I don't like the Kitchener stitch. That's why I do toe-up socks. And you need to know 3-needle bind off with Red Riding Hood, which is not, I've discovered that's not as difficult as I used to think it was. So those were Into the Woods patterns. Now we're going into Tales of Terror. We have a ballerina, fairy tutu, and a wand. And I just keep thinking Genevieve would look so cute in that. It is an intermediate skill, and it has 4 children's sizes from extra small to large, and it gives you the waist measurements, and it's done in a, actually they recommend Knit Picks Gloss DK, so it's done in a DK yarn. Cool. Cool. Special skills, you need to know I-cord, which I've learned that over time too. Then we have... And I have no way, I didn't look at this one ahead of time. It starts with the toe. Jack and the Bean Socks. Let me get this so you can. They're toe-up socks. They're toe-up socks. I could do those. I'm not sure if I will, but I could do those. It's for experienced knitters. 3 different sizes. They use Knit Picks Stroll Tonal Sock yarn. I actually have some of that, which is a merino nylon yarn. And they say use double pointed needles. I don't. I use my zippity doo dah needle, which if you ever see my socks, I usually have them on it. I call it, it's actually Haya Haya, and they're the short little needles, and I love them because I can just keep knitting around and around. Anyway, special skills, you need to know cables and how to make baubles, but otherwise, not bad. Yellow brick road bag. Look at that. That looks fun. It just does. It just looks fun. It's an intermediate one. It actually comes in 3 different sizes, small, medium, and large. And they use a worsted weight on it. Do they say no special skills? Although, well, they have you do buttonholes, of course, but that might be fun. Even if I had to do a lining, might be fun. Oh, Woodland Friends hat. Oh, you can't see it. It has bear ears. It's easy. Comes in 2 sizes. There are other ones I'll show you in a minute. Let's see. Bulky yarn, so they would probably knit up fast. And here you can see the 3 different hats. So they have a wolf or pig and they have the bear. How cute. Then we're getting into princes and princesses. And here is a siren shawl. Isn't that beautiful? As someone who loves shawls, it's an intermediate level, 1 size. And they recommend Madeline Tosh Merino Light, which is a super fine yarn. I have some super fine yarn. I've been wondering what I'll do with it. That could be an idea. Special skills, you need to know short rows. And then they have a couple special instructions and stitch patterns, but they tell you how to do them. So it's not too bad. Then we have Briar Rose's blanket. And of course, if it's Briar Rose, you have to have roses on it. And I have a feeling cables are the necessary, or the special skill. Skip the page. It's an intermediate, worsted weight, and special skills, cables, and embroidery stitches. So, it's very pretty. It is very pretty. Snow White's shrug. I always think shrugs are pretty, but I just don't know if I would wear them. So I almost hate to get them because I don't know, but look at the back of it. I could make it for somebody else, couldn't I? Then they have Charming cardigan. And it's one of those that's going to glare. It's dark too, so it's hard to see. But it's intermediate. It comes in 4 different men's sizes. And they use worsted weight yarn, and you need to know cables and I-cords for it. I thought maybe I'd have a better picture. Nope, that's the only picture. Then Rose Red Wrap. Something else I probably wouldn't make because I don't know that I would wear it unless I made it for somebody else. It's an intermediate skill, 4 different sizes. They use Knit Picks Wool of the Andes, which is a worsted weight yarn. Do you think I got this book from Knit Picks? Well, no, not necessarily, because they also have Madeline Tosh. I do like these. The Bookish Bell Mitts. Intermediate, 1 size. It uses a super fine yarn. They use palette, Knit Picks palette on it. Let's see. They have a stitch pattern that you follow, but they give it to you. Next is What's in a Name? That's Shakespeare. Hey, how cute. Fairest of them all, Top. That's cute. It comes in sizes 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Intermediate. Now see here they use 3 Irish Girls Spring Veil DK. So it's a light yarn. You need to know short rows. There's a view of the shoulder or the sleeve. Very nice. They give you little fairy facts on each one too, such as the Disney version of Snow White was known as Disney's Folly. No one thought that a full-length animated movie would be successful. He also gave the 7 dwarves, he proved them wrong. He also gave the 7 dwarves their names, which weren't included in the original story. Then we have, to go with the top, a little princess skirt. That's so cute too. And sizes extra small through extra large. They also use the same yarn in this. It's a light yarn. Let's see. Special Skills Provisional Cast On. I know that one. Cinderella playset. I don't know if you can see the little mice. I'm sorry. I had a feeling that my camera was slipping. I apologize. Just seemed like I was going lower and lower on the screen and I wasn't figuring out why. So anyways, we were on Cinderella's playset. And with, it's intermediate skill, one size. You get Cinderella, the pumpkin carriage, and the mice. And it's all done in super fine yarn. Except for the carriage, which is done out of worsted. My foot went to sleep. I've been sitting the same way for a while. Special Skills, 3-needle bind off, I-cord, magic loop, and embroidery stitches. I love the fact that I know all these things. And there is the pumpkin. It's actually a bag. Isn't that cute? And there that you see the mice inside Cinderella's pumpkin. That is just adorable. Then, of course, every princess needs a proper princess topper. I don't know. I see that being a potential weapon in my grandkids' house, because either my grandson would be wanting to wear it or he'd be wanting to poke it at his sister. It's an intermediate, one size. It's intended to sit atop the head rather than around it. And it's made from a light yarn and a lace yarn. Let's see, any special skills? Provisional cast on, cables, and the Kitchener stitch. And you can see the inside. It's actually worked around some of that plastic mesh. But anyways, then we have a section called Something Wicked. And, of course, there's Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty. I like that. I like that shawl. Let's see, it's an intermediate. One size fits many. They actually use a worsted weight. Oh, cool. They have a stitch pattern, of course, but they give it to you. Very nice. Very nice, isn't it? I think so. It's not a shawl, it's a shrug. I would probably use that pattern and make a shawl out of it. Then we have Good versus Evil. Raven shawlet. Thank goodness she's wearing it over her shoulder so you can see the design. And it is called a shawlet. Intermediate, one size. It uses a light yarn. Special instructions you need to know, SK2P. It's so funny how I say things in my head, but I know other people may not know them like that. This is probably not going to show up real well, but there's a pattern at the back. I like it. Dark Dream Socks. These are for experienced knitters. Sizes small, medium, and large. They use Knit Picks Stroll sock yarn, so it's a super fine yarn. Stranded knitting, Kitchener stitch. Oh, these must be from the cuff down. Duplicate stitch. A duplicate stitch. Oh, wow. So if I could probably make these from the toe up. I would just have to use the graph and turn it upside down. I don't want to show it for long because, you know, they don't want everybody seeing how to make the pattern. Then we have Candy Witch's fingerless gloves. Those are intermediate, small, medium, large, extra large. They use a super fine yarn. Special instructions, make baubles. So, That's kind of cool. Then they have, this is kind of neat. My granddaughter loves dress up. Modern chainmail hoodie. And if I told her that, you know, it's for like for a night, she'd probably have her brother wear it all the time. I'm sorry, it's an intermediate. They have a children's and a women's size. And maybe what's throwing me off is I don't like working with gray. But if you're going to make it as chainmail, it makes sense. It uses bulky yarn and special skills, cables, and the Kitchener stitch. I tell you, if I made all the patterns out of this book, I'd learn how to do the Kitchener stitch, or be more comfortable with it. There we go. There we go. By the way, I apologize if I can't edit out that camera falling thing. I am not the best at cutting things out, but I will try my best. Then we have a dragon softie, and I love dragons. And that one's cute. One size, intermediate skill. It's 11 inches tall, and you use worsted weight yarn. Special skills, I-cord, and embroidery stitches. I'm sorry, I'm slouching. Then, let's see. Queen of Hearts Beret. Before I turn the page to show it to you, I'll tell you about it. It's an intermediate, one size, and they use worsted weight yarn. Special skills, stranded knitting. And you'll see why. Lovely though. And then we have a Rumpelstiltskin infinity scarf. That does not look like it'd be that hard to make. Made out of bulky yarn, and it is easy. It's one size, and special skills, provisional cast on, and Kitchener stitch. I wouldn't have to use a Kitchener stitch, but hey. Then once again, an apple a day. It's an intermediate, one size, and it uses worsted weight yarn, and you need to know I-cord. Apple a day. Neat. Oh, I thought I was done after that. Oh my goodness. If this came in children's sizes. Elsa's snow vest. My granddaughter would wear that all the time. It's an intermediate, extra small through extra large. It uses super bulky yarn, and size 13 needles. And they have special stitches like the garter, selvage edge, a wide rib, and a narrow rib. There you can see the neck, or the collar, or the neck, whatever you would call it. And that's it. That's the last one. So in the back, they give you the abbreviations and the skill levels, what they mean. And then they tell you standard yarn weight. So, you know, so many times in patterns, it makes me upset when they tell you the name of a yarn, but they don't tell you the weight, because I have a stash of yarn, but I may not have the right one. And I hate to get started and find out I'm wrong. So they actually tell you the types of yarn they are, and the gauge range, and the recommended needle sizes for them. Then in the back, they show you each of the special skills. So, and they tell you a little bit about the designers. How cool is that? I love this book, as you can tell. Like I said, it's available on Amazon and on Barnes & Noble. Sorry, my phone turned off. I hadn't been paying enough attention to it. Okay, I think that's it for today. I think I've covered everything. We've had a camera, you know, thingy. Oh, and actually, I've not been doing a lot of reading this week. I have been watching podcasts, or I've been finishing up my vlogcasts, watching all those, like from the Knitting Expat, Geeky Girls, Inside Number 23. I think it's called Knitting in the Arctic Circle, Skein Deer. I love all those. So anyways, I've been watching a lot of those, and I started watching Prime shows last night. I also watched Netflix things, but you know, not everybody has those. So anyways, I've been watching those things, but as far as reading, I've not had time, which I really need to because I'm in a good read competition, and I have to read a book real fast. Luckily, the books I've chosen are fast readers. So, anyways, and then of course there's my daughter's blog, but she hasn't put a new one out this week. Um, with the holidays, and she's got her mother-in-law visiting, and I know life gets busy. So, because I haven't heard from her in a few days either. Okay, so let's get to the last little thing. Where can you find me? Well, I am NapiersKnits on Ravelry and Etsy. That's my Etsy store. Then I'm Naturally Kim's Knitting on Ravelry. That's my podcast one. Naturally Kim's Knitting on YouTube, Blogger, Facebook, and WordPress. And then on Instagram, it's knitting_Kim. And when I have things to post that I'm allowed to post, I post them on there. I just don't do I don't do it as regularly as I'd like to, only because I'm doing super secret patterns. Okay, well, I think that's it. Love you guys. I hope you all have a wonderful week. If you have any mistakes, I hope that you're able to correct them. But otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful crafting week. Love you. Big hugs. And if you're interested, right after this will be my spindling demonstration. Okay. Love you. Bye-bye. Hi, everybody. I'm either going to add this onto my video for tomorrow that I'm going to put out, or this will be a separate video. I had a question a while ago about spindling, and they wanted to see how to do it. Well, I use a Turkish spindle. I tried the traditional a while ago, and I didn't really like it, and I really haven't spindled for quite a while, and I remembered last night why, because I decided to get this out and try it, and it's harder on my fingers than using my spinning wheel. But because I love you guys, I'm going to try to do this today and see what happens. Now, what you normally do is you take a contrasting, if you can see in the middle there, that pink, a contrasting leader yarn. It can be any natural fiber, preferably something with wool in it and that has a twist. And you're going to tie that or attach that onto your spindle. Okay? Now, what I like to do is I then like to wrap a little bit of it around. That's why you can see the pink in the middle. And when I wrap, this is out of the wool that I was doing last night. When I wrap, I like to go over one arm, under two, over one arm, under two. And that's just because then it makes a nice little center pull ball that just works up so nicely. Now, I don't know the quality of this wool that I'm using. It's some old that I had around, but I thought I would try it. Now, we're going to pretend that this is my leader. Actually, it is kind of. It's some of the yarn wool that I did up last night. And what you're going to do is you're just going to take your leader yarn and you're going to give it a twist as you put it over the spindle. Okay? Now, if this works right, my leader yarn, see what I'm doing? I'm kind of trying to help the fibers to attach to each other. And with any luck, my leader yarn will, oops, it's not doing it. In fact, it started falling apart. It's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing, but it's not a good thing. Okay. Now, what we're going to try and do is do a little spinning. When you spin, you want it to go clockwise. So you spin your spindle, and you just feed a little bit of your wool out at a time. Now, you're going to notice what I'm doing here is I'm pulling this back a little bit. You need to do that, because if you don't, then you're going to end up with knots and rough spots in your yarn. That's not necessarily a bad thing for some people, but if you want it really smooth, you do need to draft it, which is pulling it gently. You do not let the twist that you're forming right here go beyond your first finger, because then it gets stuck in this drafted yarn, and it's very hard to get it out. It's not impossible. You can get it out by reverse winding, having it go the other way. But, yeah, it's very difficult. I've never had, I shouldn't say never, I haven't had a lot of success unwinding. I know you can't see my face. That's because I'm trying to show you what I'm doing. Okay, so we're going to start the spindle spinning again. And I'm going to draft and feed it, draft and feed it, and my spindle is just a spinning, which is a good thing. When it stopped, you start it up and going again. And when the spindle gets close to the ground, which I will show you here in a second, it's not close to the ground yet, but it's enough that I can show you. You're going to take this string that you've made, and you do not want to lose that twist. So you need to wrap it around your fingers so that we can then wind it onto the arms down here. So I've got this nice twisted yarn, and I'm going to go over one, under two, over one, under two, over one, under two, and I'm going to keep doing that until I get this to a length where I can do another half hitch, which is what that loop is called, and I start it over. Now when I get enough on here, that's a one ply yarn. It's not a super strong yarn, but could you use it? Yeah, you can use it. I wouldn't use it like for socks or something that you want a lot of wear and tear on, because one ply, it's going to give easily. However, if you want something a little stronger after you fill this thing up, which really does not take all that long, you will take your fiber off of here. You'll make another ball of yarn using your spindle. Then you'll take both of those balls and you're going to feed them. You're going to do it just like you did at the beginning here. You're going to get a leader yarn, but instead of having it feed clockwise, you're going to feed it counterclockwise, because then you're going to take your two pieces of fiber, spin it counterclockwise, and you'll end up, and the two twists will work together to make a really nice twist, and that will give you your yarn, and you'll have a 2-ply fiber. And if this is your first time working with this, with a spindle, don't expect it to work out like this the first time. I've seen people who get it a lot thinner than this with the spindle. I cannot, quite frankly. But I can get it this way, or this thin. And I've gotten it a little bit thinner before, but it didn't look like this at first. It looked bumpy and all that, and I did use it, and I made scarves with it, and it worked out lovely for that, because I wasn't too picky about how it was for me. So I wasn't all that picky. I no longer have that scarf. But anyways, I lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. Anyway, so, by practicing just 15 minutes a night, before you know it, you're going to be able to do a really good job. And you'll be able to look back at that first skein of yarn that you made, and you're going to say, wow. Because years later, or not even years, months later, as you keep practicing, it's going to get better and thinner and smoother. And before you know it, you're going to be able to spin like a pro. Now, like I said, I have difficulties with my arthritis in my fingers and a spindle, so I don't do it as much as I used to. However, having got my spindle back out again, I'm going to keep working on it again and see how much I can do each night with my sore fingers before they get too bad. And I will keep you guys posted. Now, I don't know if that answered questions. I don't know how clear it was, but I hope that was able to help help you not to be so afraid of spindling. It's not about perfection. It's a craft, just like knitting is. You weren't perfect the first time you knitted. Sorry, I'm going to move it up here. But as time went on, you got better and better. So, oh my goodness, I didn't put any makeup on. I just realized, because I wasn't thinking about showing my face. So just keep practicing, and before you know it, you're gonna be a spindling fool. So, okay, I will either try to add this to my video that normally goes out, or this will be a separate video on YouTube. I hope you enjoy it. If you have any other questions, just go to my Naturally Kim's Knitting blogger, or I'm sorry, my Ravelry thread, Naturally Kim's Knitting Podcast. Put a question in there, and I'll see if I can't help you out some more. Okay, I hope you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.